Hey everyone, Ray here with Rinksworks. What is this contraption we built? Well, a friend of mine's got a bulldog that is about 35 pounds, a little chunkster, and he's got a very injured back, and she can't get him up a steep flight of stairs, about 18 stairs, very easily. So what I've done is I built this carrier for her dog carrier, and it just sits down inside here. Now she can put the dog in here, and I made a handle that just clips on the front like so. And this will allow her to set the dog in there at the bottom of the stairs and pull him right up. So if you want to see how I made this, stay tuned and we'll do it right now. What we got is 24 inches across from the bottom. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a sled that this will sit in, and then the front end will come up like this to clear the first stair, and I'll do the same in the back like so. And then if this is sitting on the ground, you start pulling it with this going up like so, it'll climb that first stair and then you just be able to continue going up. So what I have is a bunch of round stock. This is 5/16. I wish I had something smaller, but I don't. That's what I had, so that's what I'm going to use. Yeah, I'm going to leave these two pieces along because we're going to build the carrier right in the center of these two pieces, and then I've got to leave some extra room to bend these up. I don't have a torch at the moment, so I'm going to leave these long. It'll be a little bit wasteful, but we'll probably use the pieces that we'll have to cut off later. So what I'm going to do right now is just take some sandpaper and clean the scale and surface rust off of these, and it just takes a few passes. It doesn't take long. Okay, I'm going to find the center of the two runner pieces, and then we'll measure out 12.5 inches, make another mark, and that'll be where the uprights start. Okay, we want to see how high we want the walls. I'd say probably right in here. It doesn't need to be the whole, we're not going up here with it, so we'll just go about right here. So I'll make a couple of pieces, four uprights, at about, we'll go 12 inches. So cut four 12-inch pieces. Okay, we got our 4 pieces cut. I've got 2 of them clamped on the bench here because we need to clean up these edges from where we cut them. If you can see, these pretty jagged edge. So I'm just going to use a flap disc on the grinder. Normally I would use my bench sander and just spin them. Just spin them on the bench sander, but a lot of you probably don't have one, so we'll just do it this way so you can see it can be done without super fancy tools. Okay, here's our 4 uprights. You can see I cleaned up the ends on both sides. Here's another way you can clean scale up off of smaller pieces. You can just chuck them up on the drill press and run your sandpaper up and down it, and it literally cleans it in just a couple passes. Don't want to put a lot of pressure on your drill press, but since I forgot to do this earlier when it was one long piece, I'm going to do these this way because it's quicker than trying to hold it and do it by hand. Okay, so here's one runner and the two uprights. Here's the other runner with the two uprights. Now I've got the mark right here where the first one's going to go. What I'm going to do is use this magnet to keep it at a 90-degree angle and line it up. I'm going to line it up right on the mark. And I'm using the concrete because I don't have a big steel table yet. So now we have a good 90-degree angle. We'll tack it. Then we'll do the same thing with this piece back here. And we'll do the same thing with those two. Then we'll be able to get it up and start forming it. So I'll get the welder set up now. All right, so I'm just going to tack these on. And then once we get everything positioned, we'll go back through and weld everything up a little stronger later. All right, there's the first one. Okay, I got the uprights just tacked in the piece onto basically the sled part. Hopefully you can see what we're doing. We're just building a carrier right now. So that, carrier, for the carrier. We'll go inside there. So I just have these clamped to the table now so that I can strengthen up these welds. They're just tacked on, and it was set up for, my welder was set up for MIG, so I'm going to change my wire now so I can get better penetration. And then I'll do these welds, and then we'll start building the perimeter. So let me set up my welder. I'll be right back. All right, I got my wire changed so we can weld these up properly. Well, properly enough. All right, I'm just going to clean up my welds a little bit. I'm just using the same flap disc we used earlier, and I'm just going to sort of clean them up. Okay, now we need to get the width at the bottom for our bottom pieces. So I think we'll do those at about 14.5 inches. So I'll get those pieces cleaned up and cut, and then we'll come back and mount those on. Okay, so I cut the cross pieces that'll sit in here and create the floor for this thing. For the pet carrier, will sit down in here like so. But before we weld those in, remember I left these long. What I need to do is bend them up so that when this is sitting flat on the floor and there's a stair up here and you attach something to it to pull it, it'll be able to slide up that stair like so. So what I need to do is concoct a method. The best way probably would be to use a torch, but I'm out of acetylene at the moment and I don't have time to wait to get a bottle filled. So I'm going to concoct a way to bend this upwards, and I'll bend the fronts both ways and then the back both ways, so that either way, it can go either direction up or down the stairs. So let me come up with an idea of a way to bend this thing. I'll be right back. So sometimes you don't always have the right tool for the job, so you have to improvise. So we're going to use the truck. I'm going to use this tow hitch. And I was going to use that bucket for height, but it turns out my exhaust pipe that's hanging down is just the right height. So if I stick this in here all the way and run that up against the exhaust pipe, that holds it just right. And I got level there. And then I want to bend this as level as I can, which is about right there. And then just start bending this. Be a little better if it was pinned, but that's okay. And as long as I keep this squared up against here and do my bends, they should all come out about the same. So I'll just do this with all 4 sides. And you can see how now there's a stair here. You started pulling, it would ride up that stair. So let me do all 4 ends like that, and we'll come back and see how it turned out. Okay, I have the 2 pieces lined up on top of each other so we can compare. You can see the one on top needs to be bent just a little bit more, and then they'll line up just right. So just got to tweak it a little bit until you get it just right. So I'll tweak that one just a little tiny bit, and then I'll do the bends on that side. And after I do that, we'll come back and see what we're going to do next. Okay, so here they are clamped back up. So here's our uprights. The basket will sit down inside there. But what I want to do now is take the front and the back, the long pieces that we just bent. I don't want them just coming up in a rectangle like that. I want to have them come up and over, and kind of come in here like that, sort of like in a U shape. Same with both sides. So I want to set up and bend those now. I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Although it's starting to rain, so I might be stuck for a bit. We'll see how this rain goes, but that's what we're going to do next. So I'll set up to bend those. Okay, so now I need to make the bends inward like we just talked about. And I need to pick a point where I'm going to start that bend. So I'm just going to pick a random spot, but the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to use my square, and I'm going to line up. This may not translate on camera, but there's 2 lines here in the bubble area. I'm just going to eyeball those, line them up with the center of this piece, and then draw a line like so, and then I'll do the same on the other front piece. I'm doing the pieces that have the red dots on them. You see the red dot there? So I'll do the other one with the red dot the same way. That'll give me equal points to start those bends inward. Now, I just found out a new thing about this staircase, that this is going to be going up. So we're going to do something totally different in what we'll call the back. So we'll call this the front, which will be the toe side, where we're going to toe it up the stairs. We'll do something different in the back now. So let me mark the other one, and then we'll bend these. Go a little bit more with it. Okay. Okay, I just set it out here on the bench so you can kind of see that the bends lined up really well doing it that way. Both of these pieces are against the workbench, and you can see that the bends lined up perfectly on the 2 pieces. So let me figure out what we're going to do next, and then I'll come back and explain it. Alright, so I got this thing clamped back to the bench. I think the best thing to do now is, now here's the pieces we just bent. We'll end up probably just putting a straight piece across here somewhere. I think what we'll do now is build the frame to keep everything sturdy. So the pieces that we cut a bit ago to go across here. So I think we'll put that one on, and this one on. I think we'll weld those on, and then we'll put the top pieces on. And then we'll finish working on the front of this. And if we want to do any more bending, we'll do it at that time. But I think we need to get some stability in this thing first. Alright, now that we got those bottom pieces welded on, the thing can stand on its own. So now we'll start to concentrate on building the top rails. We'll be able to use a lot of this, which will be scrap, to build that. Same here. We'll probably just put a cross piece here. We'll see. But hey, at least it stands on its own now. So let's start building the top. Okay, it's the next day. When we left off last night, we had already formed the front to this point, and then the backs were still sticking straight up. And I was originally going to make these symmetrical like a toboggan, but I found out that the stairs these have to go up have like a 3-foot landing. You open the door, there's like a 3-foot landing, and then I go straight up the stairs. So there's not a lot of room at the bottom of the stairs. So what I did was I took these that were bent up, I bent them in and then over, and I used the same method. I just used that tow hitch mounted sideways on the truck. So now what I'm going to do is cut these off and weld them in the center, and then these leftover pieces are going to be long enough to make these 2 runners. So I'm going to set up, cut those, and weld that center up. Okay, I'm going to put a flap disc on this and clean those ends up real quick before we go and weld it up. Alright, I got it clamped together with some vice grips. Now I'll see if I can get a weld on there without welding the vice grips to the thing. It's going to be a little tricky. Alright, looks horrible, but it started, so I can go around and finish that weld off. Clean up this weld a bit. That'll look fine once it's painted. Okay, let's cut our top runners now. I'm going to measure them, and I'm going to leave them just a little, boy, that's hot. I'm going to leave them just a little long, so that once we weld them and everything all up, and then we go to grind them, we can make them nice and smooth. So I'm going to cut them just a little bit long. I'm going to mark them left and right also. Alright, so let's think about the next step here. We need to get this height. We want this thing to end above where the step would normally be. You don't want this to bang into the step. You want it to be above the step so that when you start pulling it, it'll just slide right up. So the average staircase in the United States, the riser height is supposed to be somewhere between 7 and 7 3/4 inches. So I saw a picture of the staircase, and it is a very long staircase, but the stairs don't look abnormally tall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this at 8 inches. And same with the other side. And we'll get a level straight line across those. Then the other thing we need to do, so we need to make a piece here. That's going to be about, at the most, 4 inches across here. So I need a piece 4 inches. And we also still need these 2 pieces, and they're about 13 1/2. So these 2 leftovers will be plenty to make these, but I also need to make this. So if I take one of these and cut it at around 19 inches, that'll still allow me to clamp these two pieces together. It'll give me enough for this piece and enough for one of these. And then of course the other one will do that. So let me get those cut and then I'll come back. All right, now I got that welded. I'll start making that bottom one, or that cross piece. So because my driveway is not level, I brought it in here for a second to put it on the workbench. So what I can do is I can figure out where I want to put this piece. We know we're going to go above 8 inches, but I can get it level across and mark it, which I already marked it. Let's go this way. I already marked where it goes. I can get it level, and then I put my 2 marks, not that top one, but that bottom one. Then what I'll do is I'll set this behind it and mark on the inside where we're going to cut it. And that also gives me an angle to cut them on. So let's go set up and cut this. Okay, I'll cut that now. And that still leaves me plenty of length, a leftover piece to make one of those top rails. Okay, I'm going to clean those edges up off camera. All right, I'm going to strengthen up all my welds that I've done to this point. And I'll probably just put you on time lapse because I think it's funny to watch time lapse. Okay, let's cut the top runners. We're going to do them at 13.5 inches. These are really lightweight clamps. Just going to use them to keep a little bit of tension. I got the piece to just fit in there, but I don't want it to fall out when I start welding. We'll go ahead and weld this first one in, or tack it in, and then we'll tack in the other one. Okay, we're going to cut off this triangle piece, and then what I'm going to do is grind and clean up all the welds, and I'll probably do that off camera. I don't think you need to watch all that. So now I'll grind all this smooth, I'll clean up all the welds, and then I'll come back for the last parts of this. So there's the carrier sitting in the sled. Now what we've got to do, notice the wheels are on the table. The only thing we want touching anything is the runner on this side and the runner on the other side. So we want the wheels to be sitting up on something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a couple pieces and set them in here like so. And so one here and then one up here. Now these wheels, the front wheels, spin. So we want to make sure that no matter what way this goes in, we'll put this back far enough. Because it's not going to roll because that's going to hold it. So we'll just put this back far enough so that when you're putting the carrier in, you don't have to adjust the wheels. So we'll just put a quick mark here where we want this to go. And a mark here where we want this one to go. And then what we'll do is once we have those rods in there, we'll get some sheet metal and we'll weld it up underneath the bottom side. And then these will keep the wheels from going anywhere also. And the sheet metal will be up high enough, it'll be as high as this is. So the only thing touching the ground will be the runners. So let's do that now. Alright, so here's the thing upside down now. Because we want to put some sheet metal in here. And then it won't rub on the ground. So I have this 22 gauge. I'm not sure why I have it. Because I would never use it on a car, which is mostly what I do with sheet metal. And look at that, it is just the right size. Ideally, it would be a little bit bigger so that I could cut it and then weld it along here and here as well. But if I weld along here, then of course cut it and weld it along here, that'll be plenty strong enough for what we're doing. So that's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a piece now, go across there. Alright, 7 3/16. Okay, I got the two pieces cut for the bottoms, and I'll just weld them along these runners here and here. But before I do that, because I'm going to have to set my welder up for some MIG welder, I'll burn right through these. Before we do that, what we need to do is come up with a way to pull this up the stairs. So I think I'm going to find some sort of a ring or something to weld on here that you can just clasp a carabiner or something on there and tow it up the stairs. So let me see what I can find to make a ring there. Alright, so I went through my junk pile, found a couple things that will work. So I could use something like this, weld it on here, or I've got this hook and I'm thinking I'll cut it off here and here and then weld it on there like so. And then you can just clip something to it, pull it up the stairs. So I think I'm going to use this one. I think I like the optics of the bigger loop there. So I'm going to cut this bend off, and then I'll cut this off right here. So I'll do that now. Alright, I just kind of got this thing half-ass clamped on here, using this one just to keep this thing from spinning. So we'll get this tacked on. Okay, I switched the welder over to MIG to do this sheet metal, and I'll put you on time lapse probably, but what I'll probably do is the four corners, and then you'll see me do spots, because if you try to run a whole bead, it'll just start warping really bad. I'm going to keep doing that until it's all filled in and welded up. Okay, I got that sheet metal all welded on, and all it is just a series of tacks spaced out a bit so you don't put too much heat in one spot to keep this from warping as much as possible. So that's just what it looks like. It doesn't look beautiful. That's how you do sheet metal. And then I started grinding the weld down on this side here, and I'm not going to go much farther than I did. One, this is super thin, plus you're putting in more heat, so I'll probably just clean this up a little bit more just to make it presentable, but it's just about done, so I'll grind all three of those down and then we'll get ready to paint it. Alright, there it is, all ground up. That's as much as I'm going to do to this. I'm not going to treat it like it's a car and make it all perfect. I did find one little problem. When I put the carrier in here, because this surface and this surface are level, those front wheels spin and it'll drop out of here. So I'm going to cut a piece of this stuff, just weld it on here, and same with on that side. The back's fine because those wheels are stationary. So I'm going to cut a couple pieces and weld them on. I'm not going to show it because you know what it looks like by now. So I'm going to do that now. Alright, it's all done. I just a couple tacks on these pieces there. I actually ended up putting a couple in the back too, just to. Now I'm going to give it a quick wipe down with acetone, and then we'll shoot it with some cheap primer and some paint, and that'll be it. Cheap semi-gloss black I got from Big R. Give it a couple coats. I lucked out. It's windy practically every single day. And today right now, it's not windy. So, no better time to do this. Alright, so while the paint's drying, let's make a handle to pull this thing up the stairs. I got a piece of PVC that I had laying around, a couple of elbows, I got some rope, line, I got a ring, and a carabiner thingy. So what we're going to do, so I took some acetone. This stuff will come right off PVC. You can still see there's a little bit of red there, but that's fine. So I took the lettering off the PVC. What we're going to do is we're going to put an elbow on each end like so and make a handle and run the line through it. So just follow along and you'll figure it out. So I'm going to get the width of my handle now. Nothing magic to this, I'm just eyeballing it. So let's cut that PVC right there. Just going to use a hacksaw. Okay. Now I'm going to take some sandpaper and clean those edges up. Now, we're not dealing with water or water pressure or anything, so we don't need to do anything crazy with this. All I'm doing is going to make something like so to be used as a handle. So we'll glue these on. Normally you would primer the heck out of this and then glue it and then just put this on, and then there'd be purple primer out here, but it's usually buried in a wall or in the ground or whatever. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna primer a little bit of it so that we don't have it dripping down all over the handle, because we don't really want to see it. And then we'll apply a little bit of a glue. Again, we don't need water pressure here or anything. We're just trying to get it to seal. Without making a big mess like I did a little bit. A couple minutes, that'll be so secure you'll never be able to move it. Now I'm doing the same thing on the other side. You don't need to watch that, of course. Alright, so what we want to do now is feed our rope through our handle. I'm going to take a piece of wire, because the rope really won't go through by itself very well. I'm just going to make a loop on it so that there's not a sharp edge, so that when we try to feed it through, it won't get caught in anything. So I'm going to try to feed it through here, like so. And I'll grab it with some needle nose and pull it through. And then I'm just going to take a piece of tape, painter's tape, hopefully it's strong enough. I'm going to tie it around the rope and the wire, and then try to pull it back through. And get the rope through the handle. Okay, there's the rope through the handle. Get the wire out of the way. And get the tape off. Alright, so now we have our rope through the handle. And the plan is, so I'm trying to get tape off my fingers. The plan is to have these two pieces come down and connect to this ring. And then the handle can pull through either way, but it'll always pull the sled up square. Alright, so here it is. Here's the handle. Here's the clip that'll clip on the front end of the sled. And you drag it up the stairs. I will give the nice lady a little bit of extra rope in case this isn't long enough. I think it'll fit just fine, but we'll see.